What's going on, guys? My name is Tyler Louder, and he is Aaron Ben, and we are Second and Short, and we are back. And I know it's only been like 3 days since our last episode, but for us, it seems like it's been forever. Like, for everybody to know, Aaron just like listened to me like vent for like 40 minutes about my life.
Well, it was only like 20 minutes.
But we're here to talk about Emmanuel Sanders and how he is a guy that is constantly playing in the Super Bowl with different teams. I mean, we were just talking he's been in 3 different Super Bowls with 3 different teams already.
Yeah, Steelers, the Broncos, and the Niners. Like, I totally forgot he started out with the Steelers. He's been in the league a long time.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like he's still got like elite speed, and he's still like a top-notch trash talker too, especially on social media. And it's really interesting because now he's going to the New Orleans Saints, which are a Super Bowl contender. And realistically, he could be playing for his 4th team in his 4th Super Bowl, which would just be crazy.
He knows how to pick them. He's like that dude who constantly goes out with like really successful women and then divorces them and gets their money.
Yeah, because that happens all the time. But you know what? Let's dive into this new edition of Emmanuel Sanders, a player that we both really like. I feel like a player that like everybody likes. There's really nobody that doesn't. I mean, we're going to find out if somebody doesn't like him, but let's kind of get the background on him. And Aaron, talk to us about this Southern Methodist University, alum.
So like I said, he started out with the Steelers, drafted in 2010 in the 3rd round at Southern Methodist University. Went to the Super Bowl his rookie year, lost to the Packers, the Brian Bulaga's Packers, which, if I'm going to spoil the next episode, he is the subject of our next episode of New Editions.
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, put that tag in the description. And in the first 2 years in the league, he was stuck at the bottom of the depth chart behind players like Hines Ward, Antoine Randall L., Mike Wallace, Antonio Brown, who actually was drafted that same year. Depth chart hell there. Eventually moved up, was named starter in 2013. Finished that year with 740 yards.
I mean, he was a highly sought after free agent, in 2014. He had tons of offers from a lot of teams, but he ended up signing with the Broncos. And we kind of saw a trend here, and it was like, if the Pittsburgh Steelers draft a receiver in 4 years, try and sign them. Like Mike Wallace had success, and then he left and had success. And we see guys like Antonio Brown, who, a bit short, had success in New England. He really did in his first game. And Emmanuel Sanders ended up having success as well. And there's a lot more players. Centennial Holmes had a good season with the Jets. There's just guys all around that if the Steelers draft you as a receiver, you're probably going to do well in the league.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how like the Steelers have this stigma of being like such a defensively minded team going back to like the 70s with a steel curtain defense, and then they're so good at drafting wide receivers. Like, you even have those 2 Hall of Fame receivers that won the Super Bowls with them back in the day, Lynn Swann and John Stallworth. So they've always kind of been historically good at drafting receiver, which is kind of funny.
The next 3 years with the Broncos, he was over 1,000 yards every year. He ended up winning his 2nd Super Bowl now that he appeared in 2015. So now he finally has a Super Bowl ring. I don't like to talk about 2015.
I was going to ask if you remember who they beat in the Super Bowl, because I couldn't remember.
Well, since we're talking about a New Orleans Saints guy, I'm going to just say I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. But, my dad, shout out to Papa J, he's a huge Saints fan. And, I think that he sees this as a very positive thing. He's a guy that I don't really hate the Saints. Just like to keep going on this because like my dad's a Saints fan. It's weird, but it's just kind of like if we don't win, let the Saints win. But his production started to decline the past 2 years, and in the middle of the 2019 season, he was traded to the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I think the decline in his production was partly due to injuries. He was dealing with he had a torn Achilles at one point, and just kind of like some old guy injuries that looked like some wear and tear. But he was still a big part of that of the 49ers offense last year. He played kind of like a key role and just kind of, even though he was traded to them in the middle of the season, he was able to come in and get some production done. He kind of provided some mentorship to Deebo Samuel, the young receiver. But ultimately, he was not re-signed by them. He was a free agent this offseason. All told, he has 2 Pro Bowls. That's in 2014 and 2016. Those are 2 of those years when he was with the Broncos. And he's got a Super Bowl ring, like we said.
I mean, I think realistically, he is a great veteran to have on your team because, he with Denver was kind of, I don't even know. He could be Batman, he could be Robin with Demaryius Thomas, but as soon as they drafted Cortland Sutton, he was obviously the mentor there to help Sutton come along. And then he goes to the Niners, and you can tell that he kind of mentored Deebo even in the short term. And Deebo is getting looked at like those 2 guys I just listed are getting looked at as like top-notch wide receivers coming into this league, like high upside receivers. And as much as we want to say it's like their athletic skill, the mentorship coming from a veteran like Emmanuel Sanders is big. And now the New Orleans Saints pick up Emmanuel Sanders. And while Michael Thomas is kind of like on the peak of top tier receivers, I think, and Saints fans, I feel like you have to agree with this, but he can like learn to kind of be a better veteran than he is with his off the field stuff. I feel like he gets in some unnecessary arguments and disagreements on social media that he doesn't need to get in, and it just ends up coming back into his face. And I think Emmanuel Sanders can help him like respond properly. It's I don't know.
Yeah, be like carry himself more professionally.
And just not get like baited into things. But let's switch back to Emmanuel Sanders and let's talk about the contract that he did sign with the New Orleans Saints. And mind you, he's 32. He's going to be 33 this season. He'll be 34 next year after that. Talk about his contract.
Sorry, what about the year after that?
Hang on, stop. I realized what I just did right there, and I just started counting. All right, talk about the contract he signed in his age 33 season.
Well, yeah, he signed a 2-year deal with the Saints for $16 million total. So yeah, he's scheduled to make $4 million this year and then $10 million next year with a $2 million roster bonus at the beginning of next year. If he's cut after this year, he would carry $4 million in dead cap.
See, I think that's why I started counting. That's why I was counting his age, because he signed a 2-year deal, but you hadn't discussed the deal yet. So like, at least people know that I know how to kind of count.
Yeah, I mean, maybe some people had their doubts.
But let's talk about the contract here. How do you view this contract? Is this like for the Saints? I think this is a necessity for them to get a legit number 2 across from Michael Thomas, to give Drew Brees potentially another, playmaking option in what we might think will be his last year.
Yeah, this I think is a great deal, and it's not too cheap. He's still making a good deal of money, especially for someone his age at the wide receiver position. But the Saints get a very dependable number 2 receiver for only this year. He only costs $4 million, which is pretty good for a number 2 receiver. And if Drew Brees does end up retiring after this year, and they have a young free agent or young rookie come in to start next year, then they've got already 2 receivers in Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders who are very reliable and can kind of lean on them to help them out.
Yeah, and I do think that this contract is going to be tied to Drew Brees. And what I mean to that is if Brees only plays 1 season, I could see the Saints cutting Sanders next year and just, saving an extra $6 million for free agency to kind of go after another quarterback. But if Brees stays for 2 years, then I think they'll just roll over this contract, carry it up, because even $10 million, realistically, for a guy that's going to produce anywhere from 700 to 900 yards for you and going to get you 75 plus catches, I think is a good thing to have. And he's going to take away pressure off of Michael Thomas and allow him to make plays. And it's going to allow Alvin Kamara to kind of have some better matchups. And I just think it's going to help everybody out. Having a reliable slot receiver is so big in this day and age, where if you don't have a prolific passer and great options and weapons, like you're in danger after the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, and you also want to have, if you do bring in a young quarterback, you want to have that kind of core of skill position players to be able to come in and help out a young quarterback.
So let's talk about how he fits in with this offense. I've already touched on it a little bit. You've touched on it, but let's just kind of reiterate it here. How does he have the scheme fit with the New Orleans Saints?
Well, where I see him fitting in is kind of in a like similar. I'm going to start off this way. Drew Brees, we've all seen it. His arm strength is kind of fading now. Since 2017, he's thrown one pass that's traveled over 35 yards in the air. So it's like thrown one deep ball in the last 3 seasons, which, I mean, a lot of players, like, you'd kind of be like, all right, this is the end. He can't play anymore. But he's still been able to produce, and he's done that by throwing. It's kind of a joke by now, kind of like a meme, that Michael Thomas just catches a slant, like he just catches a short slant every play and then runs after the catch. But that's kind of what Drew Brees has done. He's been able to throw that short ball, intermediate ball, to players coming open, like in the middle third of the field. And that's exactly where Sanders has excelled in like the last few years and throughout his career. He's a great route runner. He knows how to get open, knows how to read the defense and put himself in the position to get open. And Sanders last year was second in the league with 562 yards in the middle third of the field, which is exactly where Drew Brees has been kind of throwing the ball lately. So I think that's just another player that fits perfectly with what Drew Brees' skill set is right now.
And I think the main thing that people have to realize, though, is that, like, Emmanuel Sanders gets first downs. I mean, last year, even though it was 2 teams, and yeah, he played 17 games, he had 41 first downs. And, I mean, realistically, if you look at his career, the only time he hasn't been over 30 first downs in a season are his first 2 years when he was struggling to fully get on that depth chart, get in that starting role. And he only had 1 start in those games anyways. But once he became a regular starter for Denver in 2014, he has gotten anywhere from like 69 to 37 first downs. And so he's constantly moving the chains, and I think that's important. And over his career, his average yards, his receiving yards per target is at a solid 8 yards, which is a very good number. And that's just where I think he's going to fit in here. Like you said, the middle third, Drew Brees and him are going to dominate. We already see Michael Thomas doing this. And I just think it just adds another layer here. Like, teams aren't going to be able to double Michael Thomas, because if they do, Emmanuel Sanders is going to catch that quick slant and get 15 yards right away.
Yeah, he's just like this very savvy veteran who, even though he's not as fast as he used to be, he's done what he's needed to do to stay in the league, and that's work on the mental aspect of the game. He knows how to read defenses. Like, he can come in. He's very good on like read option routes, stuff like that, where you can like read the defense and know where he needs to be. And so he's the perfect fit, in my opinion, to come in and complement Thomas. That's the number 2 receiver.
I mean, if you ask Emmanuel Sanders, like, on Twitter, if you start like talking smack about how like he's kind of slow and everything, he'll clap back at you right away. And even though it's not like he's lost a step, but it's just like natural regression due to age. Like, it just happens. You can't do anything about it. He's still got extreme quickness, right off the line of scrimmage, which is very important. He has the ability to break off press coverage and to fight for those little, one-on-one matchups to get good body positioning, which is another key thing, because like, even if like you're a little bit slower than that 22-year-old cornerback, out of Ohio State, 'cause that's where they all come from.
Cornerback,
But like, even if you have to go against that guy that's supposed to be faster and stronger and longer than you, he's able to get the right positioning to always get the catch. He's literally a Mr. Reliable. He's in the same category to me as like Julian Edelman. Like, that's what I look at. Like, him and Sanders are like the same type of guy to me. And what I mean by that is they're just reliable. They're efficient. They're reliable.
Yeah, it reminds me of when we talked about Gerald McCoy, how he's been in the league for so long, and like he doesn't have the athleticism and physical explosiveness as he used to, but he's remained in the game just because of his high football IQ. It's the same type of deal, different position, but same type of deal. Just that football know-how and a high IQ is what's kept him around for so long.
Yeah, I mean that's just another vet that is just like a lot of these vets are just savvy, and people sleep on these veterans, but they are very important to teams getting far in the playoffs, to teams having that edge in the conference championship, and in the Super Bowl itself. And let's move on to his impact then. We're like, we literally keep like dipping our toes into the next level of water. We just keep going deeper and deeper.
Yeah, it's like when you go to the swimming pool and you like, instead of jumping in, you just kind of go in the shallow end and then walk down until the water gets to your nuts.
We're literally just like bobbing up and down like we're making tea right now, just trying to get to the deep end. But let's jump into his impact. How is he going to impact the New Orleans Saints this year? We can talk about it next year because there's really no long-term impact. But let's just talk about 2020 right now.
Well, like we said, he'll come in and like he immediately compliments Michael Thomas as a number 2 receiver. His best seasons have come when playing with a Hall of Fame quarterback in Denver. That's Peyton Manning, if you forgot. And now he gets to play with another Hall of Fame quarterback, and so I think we can expect a lot from him this year. Like we said, he can provide some guidance for Michael Thomas, and I think even if he can just like replicate his production from last year, not even improve on that, that's already better than the Saints' number 2 and 3 receivers combined last year. Ted Ginn Jr. and Traquan Smith had combined for 48 catches and only 655 yards. So if Sanders can come in and do what he did last year, he's already an improvement over 2 receivers.
Just to kind of bring it back to where we were, his biggest impacts, I think, short term, are going to be obviously improving the depth of the position there in New Orleans, improving the number 2 receiver spot. Maybe the thing that we're not talking about enough is like we've been saying ever since we started this podcast back in like late March, early April, is that Drew Brees is on a 1-year deal. Like we think Drew Brees is 1 year and he's done. That's just kind of where we've been at. And we're okay if we're wrong. Don't get it twisted here, Saints fans. If Drew Brees plays for 2, 3, 4 years, I don't care. Like I love Brady. He's been playing forever and he's gonna play till he's like 70 because he's gonna find another diet to keep him playing. And if Drew Brees plays more years, I don't care. That's awesome. It's great for the league. It's great for marketing. It's great for playoffs. It's just he's a good guy to have in the league. But if he is doing what we think, why aren't we talking about how Emmanuel Sanders might give Drew Brees like a breath of fresh air, might bring him new life? Like he really hasn't had a legit 2 receiver set in his career. I mean, he's had good number 2 receivers, don't get me wrong, but it's mainly like he's got a really good number 1, and then he's got a tight end, and now he's got a running back, but he doesn't ever have 2 receivers that he can constantly rely on, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think, he had Michael Thomas and Brandon Cooks at one point, but that was kind of, it seemed more like they were competing against each other rather than together as a wide receiver core. This is like, here, Michael Thomas is the number 1 receiver. Sanders is the number 2. There's no competition between them. They're only going to build off each other and make each other better.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the guidance that he could bring Michael Thomas, like Emmanuel Sanders could have like a really terrible year and only get like 400 yards and like 42 catches, 1 touchdown. But if Michael Thomas comes out as like a better pro, that might be the biggest victory you can get, because you need this guy to stay level-headed. You need him to be producing at a high level, because Michael Thomas is going to be a New Orleans Saint for a long time, and Drew Brees won't. So you need that guy to be ready to help the next quarterback. Let's move into predictions. We're touching it here. We're talking here. Let's mix this up. Instead of going with a regular scheduled routine that most shows do, let's just kind of mix it up. So I'm going to ask a question. You ask a question. And we can just ask whatever we want, okay?
And then you kind of putting me on the spot here. I got to think of stuff to ask.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not going to hold your hand anymore.
Yeah, all right. I know you're right. I think you're right.
We're 38 episodes in or something like that. All right, how many catches is he going to get? We have like 50 as kind of a regular benchmark, but I want to say 55 catches. Is he going to go over or under 55 catches for 2020?
Probably under, but not by much. I would say like 50, like right around 50 catches.
Yeah, I mean I think that's fair because the New Orleans Saints really don't have like a lot of like lost targets from the year before. Really haven't, like Ted Ginn's gone, but there's not a lot of targets that are going to be added extra. And if this team is going to pass more, it's they'll come there. But if they're going to be the same amount of targets, yeah, I could see 50 being a legit goal to hit. I kind of also just like have another scenario that's like a 10% chance of happening that he just goes off for like 80 catches. But realistically, about 50 catches is probably a safe zone. So what do you got for me?
All right. What do you think in terms of yards? Over or under 700 yards?
7 yards? Can you get 7 yards? No, over 700. If we're staying about 50 catches, then I'm going to say it's going to be under 700 yards. Probably about 600. But like I said, I think he has a chance to do more. And if he does more, then obviously that number's going to increase. That's obviously. But let's just stick with 50 catches. He's going to be a little under 700 yards, just shy of it.
All right, that's fair.
All right. How many tutties is he going to get here? Just give me a number. I'm not going to ask over under. How many tutties do you think he's going to get?
Yeah, I'm going to go with 5. 5 touchdowns. Not a whole lot, but they've got a lot of weapons in that offense. And I think Kamara is going to get his fair share of touchdowns, Michael Thomas. So I think I'm going to go with about 5.
Yeah, and Jared Cook's still going to be there to take over touchdowns as well. I'm going to agree with you there. I'm going to keep it there. All right, give me another one. Give me one last prediction, like anything.
How many rushing carries is he going to get? Because I know there's a guy who's been used in the past in like jet sweeps and stuff like that. How many? You think the Saints are going to use him a lot on the rushing plays, things like that?
Well, last year he didn't have a single rushing attempt. And that, I mean, he had a stretch of 5 years, he had a couple. I honestly think he'll maybe have about 3 because Ted Ginn Jr. was using that as well. And I think we'll see about 3, maybe 4 carries for him. You know, he's getting a little older. It's going to be interesting to see what he's going to do. But I think 3 to 4 carries would be a reliable thing there for him. But I also think that his, average yards per target is going to stay up around his average of 8+. His catch rate is about 61%. I think that he'll be better this year because Drew Brees is an extremely accurate quarterback. And I could see another prediction. I could predict that we're going to be wrong on every single prediction that we've made about him, and he's going to do a lot better than we have. Like, realistically, I could see him having a conversational Pro Bowl year where he's not quite a Pro Bowler, but people are like, why not?
Yeah. Can I say one more thing? If we're talking about Michael Thomas, I just want to say that on the play last year, when he broke the single season reception record against the Titans, he thought he scored a touchdown and he ripped his helmet off and threw it, and that should be a penalty because he didn't. That touchdown ended up being called back because he didn't make the end zone. So that should have been a personal foul, 15-yard penalty, and that should have moved them back, and that could have cost us the game. That's just what I wanted to say about that.
Wow, somebody sounds spiteful there and just angry and everything. Wow,
I've been holding that in for a long time.
What is this episode going to go on August, man? That's like a 9-month grudge, dude. Let it go. It's not even a division rival. But that is going to do it for us here on Second and Short in this new edition episode of Emmanuel Sanders to the New Orleans Saints. Thank you guys for listening on here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. We're getting a couple subscribers every episode, and we appreciate everything. I want to say everybody that is subscribing, thank you very much, because we're not going out there begging for subscribers and begging for followers like a lot of people are doing. And I just appreciate the people that are taking time to do that. So if you guys want to stay up to date on everything, click that subscribe button to catch every episode we got coming up. Also, if you hit this like button down below, it's great for the algorithm. It helps us get shown a little bit more. And if you enjoy it, then other people can enjoy it. And leave us a comment because we love interacting with people that comment down below. Just be careful for Wyatt because he will come for you.
He will. Yeah, check us out on Facebook as well. I update our Facebook page with every new episode. Instagram, we've constantly got new posts. We're talking about news updates, discussion points, things like that. Posting some polls in the story and everything. And then check us out on Twitter. We got new polls every Friday. And slide into our DMs whenever you feel like, wherever you feel like, and however you feel like.
Yeah, and thank you very much to everybody that's been following us on Instagram. That is our most followed social media outlet. We are over 425, and that's pretty awesome. I like to think so. Alrighty, guys. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.